Hey, this is Pamela Schneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review, Euros Week 3 edition. But Greg, you've got,
This this is in honor of Independence Day, not in honor of our pathetic national soccer team, which crashed out of a tournament it's hosting.
yeah, I watched that game too. Which is
It was in
why
Kansas City even, and I declined to go because I could feel what was about to happen.
well, I've got my red, white, and blue, but more Le Bleu than than America on this one, and my Olivier Giroud, of course, my favorite French soccer player, coming soon to LAFC. So whenever the Euros
Yeah,
is over, can
I've
we
heard that. Yeah.
can we hurry this up? Um, this week in news, though, it's the 4th of July week, and I don't know if anyone else noticed, but it's kind of a slow news week. Um, Big news coming out of the UK. Aldi is trialing crownless pineapples. Um, and I think that's interesting because this is not the first retailer I've heard of that has tried crownless pineapples, and there are a lot of really great reasons to do a crownless pineapple. Not even just Aldi is packaging it as a food waste thing, and maybe that helps with the consumer angle of it to try to convince consumers that a crownless pineapple is just as good, if not better, than the one with the leaves sticking out. That's a logistical nightmare if you're cutting them at home. Um, Consumers got to get over this because it makes so much more sense to pop that crown off at the origin and pack more of them in boxes. We have less waste. You can do stuff with the leaves. I don't think I have it on my desk right now, but I have some fabric that was woven out of pineapple fiber that comes from the leaves that are discarded. And most of the pineapples that are headed toward fresh cut operations already have the crowns removed.
It seems like they ought to be able to promote it on ways beyond food waste. Like, I mean, they can ship so many of them, so many more of them per box. You would hope that it would be cheaper across the supply chain to ship them without those, and maybe that could be passed on to a consumer.
It is absolutely cheaper to ship them across the supply chain. One, you're paying for less for corrugated, right? Because if you think about how much space those leaves take up, and then you think about the waste in the store level of when the leaves start to get a little funky looking or they get broken, or those weird people that think that you can tell the ripeness of a pineapple by pulling the leaves out. That's not how this works. Um, but there are so many benefits to shipping them crownless. I hope that Aldi has some success in it because maybe we can make some progress in this area. And maybe some of the other fancy pineapples that we've seen come across, like the ruby, what is it, the pink glow one. That one's sold crownless and they have to do fancy boxes for it, but that's because it's a premium variety. It's genetically engineered. It's $50, or it was $50, but I've even seen them sold for $8 to $10. So that kind of introduced the idea that you don't have to have the crown. It is aesthetic. It is pretty. I do have a crown from an Azorean pineapple trying to root in my kitchen. I'm trying that experiment, but the long story short is that most consumers really shouldn't care, but somehow they do, and they need to get over it. So
Well, it does look better in your kitchen as it ripens with that
yes,
top
it
off.
does. Except for it's not actually ripening because all the ripening has taken place. The only thing that's happening on your counter, according to my good friend Dennis Kilstadius, is fermentation. But apparently I like really fermented pineapple because I love to leave it on the counter for a couple of days, but hopefully not too long because fruit flies are vicious and they love pineapple.
They do, yes. That can be dangerous, I agree.
In other news, speaking of dangerous, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just going to bring it up because I don't have a whole lot of analysis on this, but the CDC and FDA are still tracing this cucumber outbreak. Salmonella africana was the original strain of Salmonella that was tied to a Florida farm. That outbreak had, what was it, 449 people were and the CDC has said many more were probably sickened by this, but only 449 were identified. But they also noticed while they were doing the investigation that there was another strain, and another 215 people were sickened by a different strain of Salmonella, and they suspect that they're related, so they combined them. So the trace back and analysis, I'm going to keep watching this one because I think that the food safety folks are going to be curious to see how this pans out in the end, if they ever do find the actual source, although they did find a positive test at the original farm that this was linked to. But it's still up in the air. But I just thought it was really interesting that that they found a different strain, and they said that it's also an outbreak, and that it's coincidence that it, like, the number and the chart of when people were sickened matches exactly. We've come a long way in food safety analysis, but we still haven't gotten that smoking gun to be I don't know, just it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, we're in that kind of odd spot where the technology is improving so much, but the ways to use it hasn't caught up with it yet.
Yeah. So what exactly does this data tell us? And, what can we take going forward are all questions that I think that we have not yet found answers to. And I'm sure in this go around, we're not going to find answers. But just to notice, I thought it would bring people's attention to that, just to keep an eye on that outbreak and see where it goes. Although I will note that it's been almost a month. June 4th was the last reported illness. So it appears that is over, and nothing else tied to those cucumbers should be out in the market. We had a couple of organizations, especially representing Canadian growers, pointing out that this outbreak did not include seedless cucumbers, to try to make sure that they distance themselves from that, and that it didn't affect sales. I would like to see if there was any data supporting that they might have had some issues with sales tied to the outbreak. We'll see.
So next week you'll be calling in from Monterey because you'll be at the Organic Produce Summit.
Yes, I will. I'm very much looking forward to some crispy, delicious, amazing colder weather. That is what I always look forward to. There's 2 trips in the heat of the summer out to the amazingness of springtime in Monterey, California is all summer long. And so Organic Produce Summits coming up. I'm finalizing some field tours, trying to get it out there and show the boys where produce grows. Family's going with me this time, so it'll be exciting. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, I think we're going to see a lot of new products. We've already seen some rebrands. We've got quite a few news releases of new initiatives, a couple of chopped salads. We've got a new logo for Ocean Mist, which is celebrating a big anniversary coming up. Lots of cool stuff. This is always a really well attended conference, but this one always seems like everyone is, I don't know if it's the refreshing weather or the food or what, but I love Monterey, California.
I think part of it has to do with the subject matter too, in that it's just organic, and there's just so many experts there with organic production and marketing, and I think people like talking to fellow experts in that niche.
That, and if you just think about the demographics of an organic consumer, they are definitely more passionate about what they do, it seems like, and especially the origins of organic stuff. And I feel like those folks in the industry who specialized in it kind of mirror their consumers in that they're very enthusiastic about it. So growing the organic produce here, I'm going to be watching, though. There's a couple of topics that we're really concerned about, is how inflation is affecting organic sales. And that is definitely something that is top of mind, because we've seen some numbers that kind of indicate that organic produce may be slowing at a greater rate, affected as consumers are a little more strapped for cash. As far as you making a choice in the produce department, and maybe if you've only got a certain amount of money to spend, organic is lower in priority than it would have been if everything was equal. So we'll see how the market is reacting to things like that, with perhaps smaller packaging sizes, some shrinkflation, I guess is the dirty word of it, but also right sizing packaging, because I can tell you how many times I've thrown away the last third of a giant Costco size, club store size clamshell of salad greens before, and I can't be the only one who does that.
I think you are not alone.
All right, well, I'll be on the lookout for some cool stuff there, and you'll hear from me from Monterey next week.
Yep,
And
I'm
that's
sure you'll enjoy.
that's it. I've got a few more jersey options, so we'll have to see how things shake out for the Euros.
Yeah, I think we'll be down to the final four by then, so we have fewer options. But I still have some teams left too.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the Produce Reporter Weekend Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up.